Good morning. The end of the world will undoubtedly be frightening. Is there anything we can do to prepare? Well, I have a story for you. It's of Hezekiah, round about 700 BC. Now, the king of Assyria had been conquering all the nations around about Jerusalem and being very successful. And Hezekiah, the king of Judah, could see that he was coming for Jerusalem. So he decided to make a few preparations. And first of all, he got all the people to block up the springs of water that were around Jerusalem. Because, as he said in 2 Chronicles 32 and verse 4, why should the kings of Assyria come and find much water? Sorry, there's a story behind my glasses. Anyway, obviously Jerusalem needed a source of water, so what he did was he dug a tunnel between the spring at Gihon, which was outside the walls, and diverted it into the pool of Siloam inside the walls. And this necessitated a tunnel of about 500 meters. And it was a huge engineering feat. I've got some pictures for you. Hezekiah set two teams working on this tunnel, one from each end. Amazingly, they met in the middle, without any GPS, no satellites, no modern equipment. What was even more amazing was that the tunnel was level all the way from both ends. There was a slight incline of about 30 centimetres. This tunnel was over 500 metres long. Phenomenal. So what other preparations did Hezekiah make? Well, he fortified the walls of Jerusalem, built towers upon them, and then he made weapons and shields in abundance. And he set military commanders over the people and gathered them all together. And he said to them, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed before the king of Assyria, because there are more with us than there is with him. He was referring to the time of Elisha, who in a vision showed his servant all the armies of Jehovah in the mountains, chariots of fire, and angels. Anyway, Hezekiah went on, with the king of Assyria is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. And the people took confidence, and they became courageous in the face of this horrible army. Now, there's more detail in the book of Isaiah, the reason being that the prophet at the time of Hezekiah was Isaiah. Eventually, of course, the Assyrian army surrounded Jerusalem, and Rabshakeh, the spokesman, was sent to demoralize the Israelites. But he didn't really get his facts right. He said to them, first of all, don't trust in Egypt. Well, they weren't. And then he said, don't trust Jehovah your God, because look at what Hezekiah has done. He's torn down all the altars to Jehovah God, and all the high places, they've all gone. What Rabshakeh didn't realise was that these were places of false worship, and Hezekiah had done the right thing. But Rabshakeh went on to talk about all the nations that he had destroyed, such as Samaria, and he said, look, did the gods of those nations save them? Well, of course they didn't, and that was very frightening. And he made a promise to the Israelites that if they surrendered, and this is Isaiah 36 and verse 16. He said, make your peace with me, come out to me. Then each one of you will eat of his own vine, and each one of his own fig tree, and each one will drink water from his own cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, full of grain and bread and vineyards. Well, now that wasn't particularly true, because he was going to deport them to Babylon, which was in the middle of a desert. Yes, there was water, but it was nothing as good as the land of Israel. So this was very frightening for Hezekiah and the people. Now they sent to Isaiah the prophet to hear the words of Jehovah their God. And Isaiah said, don't worry about the king of Assyria, because I, Jehovah God, am going to make him turn around and go back to his land, and he will be killed by the sword, which actually did turn out to be true. So, what saved the Israelites at that point? Isaiah 37 and verse 36, the angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 of the camp of the Assyrians, and so they were saved. They had to retreat and run back home. Now, a lot of people look at that and say, oh, all those people killed. But they were murderers, they were soldiers, they were quite happy to kill all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. All these wars were not ideal in those days. Nothing that happened on the earth since Adam's fall from grace has been proper. When Jesus Christ came, he taught us a better way, without wars and violence and so on. And we look forward to the time when the kingdom comes. But did the preparations that Hezekiah made make any difference? Well, bringing water into the city was a very sensible thing, and obviously gave them a good source, which was needed. The weapons of war, that the shields and the whatever he made, were of no use whatsoever. So, I believe that the preparations we need to make are mental. We need to put our strong faith in the Lord. He will save us. So the tribulation and the end of the world will be frightening. But like Hezekiah, we can give our neighbours faith in this God who will save us with his Son Jesus Christ through this very difficult time. He will deliver us. We will be able to help other people with their fear. And that's the best preparation we can make. So God be with you, and God bless.